My husband proposed something so outrageous that I had never imagined it. Yet that evening transformed everything. He wanted me to be intimate with 3 men, and surprisingly I found myself drawn to the idea. You won't believe how the night unfolds in ways we never anticipated. I can still picture the night when everything changed. It was a muggy summer evening, and I had just returned home from a long day at work. I was drained from the day's challenges. Aiden, my husband, was already in the living room, a whiskey glass in his hand. His gaze was fixed on me with an intensity one had never seen before. There was something about his demeanor that night that made the atmosphere feel charged with expectation. As I settled beside him, I sensed his eyes were on me, observing my every movement. "How was work?" he inquired, his tone unusually gentle, almost enticing. I shrugged and let out a weary sigh. The usual. Just long and exhausting. But Aiden seemed more focused on me than my words. He placed his hand softly on my thigh. I was accustomed to his affectionate gestures, but tonight felt different. His fingers glided up my leg, and I turned to meet his gaze, my heart racing. There was a newfound hunger in his eyes, a desire that felt thrilling and unfamiliar. "I've been thinking," he began, leaning in closer, his voice a mere whisper, "about us, about what we need." His words sent a shiver through me, and I shifted in my seat, uncertain of where this conversation was headed. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice slightly quivering. Aiden smiled, his hand creeping higher, his breath warm against my ear. "I think we could use something different. Something to add a little excitement between us." I swallowed hard, feeling a knot form in my stomach. "Spice things up," I echoed, confused by what he was suggesting. He nodded, his lips brushing against my neck. "I want to see you with other men," he whispered, sending shockwaves through my entire being. For a moment I was at a loss for words, my mind spinning from his proposition. I leaned back, searching his face for any hint of doubt or regret. But all I saw was raw, unfiltered desire. "You want to see me with other men?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Aiden nodded, his eyes dark with lust. "Yes, but not just any men. I want you to be with 3 strong, handsome black men. I want to watch you lose yourself in their embrace, feel their touch, and experience something new and wild." My mind raced with countless thoughts. I had never even considered such a thing. The idea of sharing myself with other men felt bizarre. Yet, when I looked into his eyes, I saw his excitement, the thrill of something forbidden. Strangely, a part of me felt intrigued, curious about what it would be like to be desired by someone other than my husband, to be caressed by their hands, kissed by their lips. I shifted uncomfortably as a wave of warmth washed over me, betraying my apprehension. I don't know," I stammered, unsure of how to react. Aiden took my hand and squeezed it gently. "I know it sounds wild, but I promise you it will be incredible. You'll love it, and I'll be right there watching and admiring you. There's nothing to fear." His words enveloped me, and I began to consider the possibility. Could I truly do this? Could I really be intimate with 3 other men while Aiden observed? The thought felt so taboo, so wrong. Yet at the same time it sparked a fire within me that I hadn't felt in a long time. I searched Aiden's eyes for any sign of doubt but found only unwavering confidence. He desired this. He wanted me to embrace it. The thought of satisfying him, of granting him this wish, sent a thrill coursing through me. "Okay," I whispered, barely recognizing my own voice. "I'll do it." Aiden's eyes brightened with excitement, and he leaned in to kiss me, his lips soft and warm against mine. "You won't regret this," he assured me, his voice filled with eagerness. The days leading up to our planned night out were a blend of excitement and anxiety. Each time I thought about what was to come, my stomach fluttered with a mix of nervousness and desire. I tried to distract myself and stick to my usual routine, but the anticipation lingered, teasing me with the potential of what awaited. Finally, the night arrived. Aiden had arranged everything perfectly. When we walked into the hotel room, the men he had chosen were already there, waiting for us. My palms were sweaty with nerves, but as soon as I laid eyes on them, 3 tall, muscular figures with confident smiles, something shifted inside me. Their dark skin glistened in the soft light of the room, and each one radiated power and strength, making me acutely aware of their gazes assessing me. My breath hitched in my throat as I stood there, feeling exposed and vulnerable, yet strangely empowered. Aiden stood beside me, his hand resting on the small of my back, gently guiding me forward. "Don't be shy," he whispered in my ear, his voice thick with excitement. "This is for you. I want you to enjoy it." I glanced up at him, my heart racing, and saw the desire in his eyes. He craved this. He wanted to witness my experience with these men. Despite my nerves, I couldn't deny that a part of me was eager for it as well. Slowly, I took a step forward, my body quaking with anticipation. The men's gazes were heavy with desire as I moved closer, and the tension in the room grew thicker. I stood on the brink of something entirely new and thrilling, ready to plunge into it. The first man reached out, his hand grazing my arm, sending a rush of electricity coursing through me. His grip was firm yet gentle, and I found myself leaning into him, breath hitching as his fingers danced up my arm. When our eyes locked, I could see a shared desire. The raw, unfiltered need mirrored in his gaze. Before I realized it, his lips were on mine, soft and warm. His kiss began tenderly but quickly intensified as he pulled me nearer. My heart raced as I surrendered to him, his strong arms enveloping me in a tight embrace. I could feel the warmth radiating from his body, his muscles flexing under my touch as I explored his chest. Behind me, I sensed Aiden's watchful presence, his gaze searing into my skin. I glanced over my shoulder and caught his eye. The look on his face sent a thrilling rush through me. He wanted this. He wanted to see me like this, lost in another man's arms. The second man stepped closer, wrapping his hand around my waist, pressing his body against me from behind. I could feel the warmth of his breath on my neck, his lips brushing against my skin as he placed soft kisses there. My body quivered with desire, my mind swirling with the intensity of it all. I had never experienced anything like this before. The overwhelming sensation of being wanted, not just by one man but three. It was intoxicating, and I could feel myself getting lost in the moment. Every touch, every kiss sent waves of pleasure through me. Aiden's voice broke through the haze of passion enveloping me. "You're beautiful," he whispered, his tone heavy with emotion. "I love seeing you like this." His words ignited a spark of confidence in me, and I redirected my attention to the men in front of me. Their touches grew more urgent as they surrounded me, the heat radiating from their bodies wrapping around me, filling me with a warmth I hadn't realized I craved. My breath quickened as their hands explored my curves, each caress sending ripples of sensation coursing through me. There was a strange sense of empowerment in being the focal point of their attention, the object of their desire. The man before me pressed his palm against the small of my back, pulling me closer until we were pressed together. I could feel every inch of him, hard and ready, his breath coming in hot, ragged bursts against my cheek as he leaned in to kiss me again. This time the kiss was anything but gentle. It was fierce and hungry, as if he were starving for me. His tongue slipped between my lips, deepening the kiss, and I could feel the urgency in his touch, the way his hands gripped my hips as if he couldn't get enough. Meanwhile, the second man's hand moved up my sides, his fingers tracing the curve of my waist before shifting higher to cut my breasts through the delicate fabric of my dress. His touch was firm and commanding, and I gasped as his thumbs brushed over my nipples, sending a jolt of pleasure straight to my core. Tension coiled tightly within me, a growing desire that wound tighter with each passing moment. Aiden remained nearby, witnessing everything unfold, his presence grounding me even as I felt myself slipping into the intoxicating pull of the moment. His eyes were locked onto mine, revealing the raw hunger he felt. He was enjoying this as much as I was. He wasn't merely an observer. He was part of this electric connection building between me and the men. "You're so beautiful," the third man murmured, his voice low and smooth as he stepped closer, his fingers trailing down my arm in a deliberate caress. "I've been waiting to touch you, to feel how soft your skin is." I shivered at his words, my body instinctively responding to his touch as I leaned back into him, feeling his arms wrap around my waist. The way they handled me felt possessive, and I surrendered to the sensation, allowing the overwhelming intensity to wash over me. Every inch of my skin was alive with pleasure as their hands roamed over my body. The man behind me gently nipped at my neck, his teeth grazing the sensitive skin while his hands slid lower, resting on my thighs. I gasped as his fingers slipped beneath the hem of my dress, teasing the bare skin of my legs, and I felt a heat pooling between my thighs, the ache of desire becoming almost unbearable. "Do you like this?" he murmured against my skin, his voice dark and seductive. "Tell us how it feels." I love it," I whispered, my voice trembling with the weight of my longing. I had never experienced anything like this before. It was unlike anything I could have imagined, filled with a raw intensity one hadn't known I was missing. The way they touched me, the way they made me feel. It was as if they were unlocking something deep within me, something primal and fierce. The man in front of me smiled, his hand sliding up my back to tangle in my hair, as he pulled me in for another kiss. This time it was slower, more intentional. His lips moved against mine with a teasing gentleness that sharply contrasted with the hunger I felt inside. His free hand cupped my face, his thumb stroking my cheek as he deepened the kiss, and I let out a soft moan into his mouth. Lost in sensation, the man behind me continued to tease my thighs, inching closer to where I craved him most but never quite giving me what I needed. My breath escaped in ragged gasps as I felt him drawing out the moment, building the tension until it became nearly unbearable. "Please," I whispered, my voice barely audible yet filled with need. "Please don't stop," I breathed. The man chuckled softly against my neck, his warm breath sending shivers across my skin as he pressed a gentle kiss to my shoulder. "We're not going to stop," he assured me, his voice low and growly. "We're just getting started." The knot of desire tightened in my core, intensifying with every heartbeat. My body trembled, caught between an overwhelming urge for release and the delicious anticipation of what lay ahead. The man in front of me kissed me one last time before pulling back slightly, his dark eyes locking onto mine as he smiled. "You're incredible," he murmured, admiration lacing his voice. "I can't wait to see how you feel." In one fluid motion, he slipped the straps of my dress off my shoulders, letting the fabric cascade to the floor in a soft heap around my feet. Standing in nothing but my underwear, I felt exposed and vulnerable. Yet instead of shyness or embarrassment, I felt powerful. Their gazes roamed over my body with raw, unfiltered desire, making me feel alive, like I was the most beautiful woman in the world. I could sense Aiden's eyes on me too, filled with pride and lust as he watched me surrender to the moment. His approval and encouragement fueled my desire, igniting a deeper craving within me. The second man stepped closer, his hands resting on my waist as he guided me toward the bed. "Lie down," he whispered, his tone gentle yet commanding. "We're going to make you feel so good." My heart raced with anticipation as I obeyed, lying back on the soft sheets, my body trembling with desire. The three men enveloped me, their hands and lips everywhere, touching, kissing, teasing. It was a sensory overload, their combined touches making my head spin and my body ache with need. One of them kissed me deeply, his hand tangling in my hair as he pressed his body against mine, his muscles warm and firm beneath my fingertips. Another man trailed kisses down my neck to my chest, while the third caressed my legs, his fingers dancing over my skin in a slow, torturous exploration. I couldn't think. I was entirely consumed by the pleasure they were giving me, and how my body responded to their every touch. I was lost in the sensations, completely engulfed by the overwhelming wave of ecstasy, and I never wanted it to end. Aiden's voice cut through the haze of pleasure, his words soft yet brimming with emotion. "You're incredible," he whispered. "I love seeing you like this." His approval and desire only heightened the intensity and thrill of the moment. I wanted to please him, to give him what he desired, and knowing he was enjoying every second made the pleasure even more intoxicating. The man at my side leaned down for another kiss, his lips soft and warm against mine as his hands glided down my body. "You're so beautiful," he murmured between kisses, his voice thick with longing. "I want to make you feel even better." Just when I thought I couldn't take any more, when the pleasure felt like it had peaked, they pushed me over the edge. I spiraled into a blissful state so profound that I couldn't even form words. My body trembled, breath escaping me in ragged gasps as I surrendered completely to the moment, to the pleasure, to the overwhelming sensation of being utterly desired. It was more than I ever expected, more than I could have imagined. As the intensity of the moment began to fade, I lay there breathless and completely spent, enveloped by the warmth of the three men who had taken me to uncharted territories of pleasure. Their touches softened, turning into gentle caresses as we started to come down from the high of our experience. My mind was still reeling, Yet I felt a strange sense of satisfaction and deep fulfillment lingering in the quiet aftermath. It wasn't just about the physical pleasure. It was the emotional connection, the feeling of being so completely desired, and knowing that Aiden had wanted this for me, just as much as I had wanted it for myself. I glanced over at him, and the look of pride and love in his eyes was everything I needed to see. Aiden moved closer, his hand tenderly brushing the side of my face as he leaned down to plant a soft kiss on my lips. "You were amazing," he whispered, emotion heavy in his voice. "I knew this would be unforgettable. But you were more than I ever dreamed." His words filled me with a profound sense of love and gratitude. As I lay there surrounded by these men and the man I adored, I realized something significant. This wasn't just about fulfilling a fantasy. It was about trust, about surrendering completely, knowing I was cherished and adored. We had ventured into something new together, and it had only brought us closer.